Now, preventive terrorism expert Temitope Olodo joins me now for more on this discussion. Good to have you right now on TVC News. So now, looking at the situation right now, we have security as a global challenge, not just in Nigeria, but around us, around the world and in the continent as well. But what are your thoughts, first off, on the will of African leaders to address this global issue?
I think it's high time that they do more or less invest their time because without silencing of the gun, the vulnerable kids, we have about 10 million in Nigeria, will not be able to return back to school. Their business activities will be paralyzed, and we know that many people will die. So, African leaders coming together to talk about silencing the gun, and ensuring that there is peace and the conflict resolution initiative are embedded within their day-to-day activities and at strategic level is a welcoming thought, and is something that we should, more or less endorse as part of the Africa Agenda 2063.
And talking about the Africa Agenda 2063, now, what other options do you think we're not adopting to achieve this target if we're talking about the Africa we want?
I think one of the biggest challenge that we've always had is that we don't address conflict before it becomes ugly, before it becomes violent. And if you have an early warning system, which, in fact, if I want to be truthful, exists in paper but not in practical terms, then would more or less see progress in peace initiative. Because if you know that a group of individuals are about to, more or less have conflict with their neighbors because, their cattle have just been rustled, or because, people have killed their cattle, or cattle have gone to eat products which they're not meant to eat, and intervene earlier to have a peace, discussion between two groups, then there won't be violence. And I think that is the challenge that we have, that we don't have this proper early warning system being practicalized, around and across Africa. And once we have that, then it will reduce the number of violence that we have, or the number of death and the number of killing that is going on across the length and breadth of Africa.
Now, on the part of the civilians who are affected by the violence, now, what are your thoughts on the level of support that they've been getting? And how do you think this will make any meaningful impact on them? For instance, most of them are peasant farmers. They've not had little or nothing. And the support that they are meant to get, would that make any difference in their lives? What are your thoughts?
I think it's a two-edged sword. I think it's important, just like if you look at from a Nigerian context, the government has a duty to protect its people. Now, if, God forbid, any of us get involved in or become a victim, just like it happens in Europe, what normally they should go for is compensation. And if they can't get compensation from government, then I'm expecting that some lawyers out there will start looking at bringing class case against the government for not providing enough security, or for not dealing with things when they need to be dealt with. Because you will agree with me, because you've been doing this work as a media practitioner for many years, we've never seen any report from an incident. So an incident happens, there's meant to be a report produced, and that report will be used to embed better security in terms of preventive security initiative, protective security initiative. It happens overseas, but it doesn't happen in Nigeria or in some of the African countries. And that is the biggest challenge. There's so many documents lying there which are recommendations, but none of those recommendations are implemented. Now, when you start to implement those initiatives, that is when you start seeing peace. But when these initiatives are not embedded, then people need to take the government.
And that's a fine place to leave it right now. Temitope Olodo, appreciate your insights on TVC News at this time.